Just look at those flakes going everywhere. Hey everyone, I'm Sav and this is Lagom Eats. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a flaky pie crust from scratch. This all butter pie crust recipe requires only 5 ingredients and it's super easy to throw together. Let's take a look at the ingredients. We're going to be using 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, half a cup of cold butter, and 1/4 cup of ice water. Let's get baking. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this butter in the freezer actually. I like to freeze my butter for about 15 minutes before using it because in this pie crust recipe, we want our butter super cold. We want it to melt in the oven, not in our bowl. You're gonna take a large mixing bowl. We're going to put 1 1/4 cup of flour in there. Remember, don't scoop out the flour like this. You're gonna get way more flour than you want. You're gonna take your spoon and fill it up to the very top, and then take the back of your knife and level it off. There's 1 cup, we'll do 1/4 more. All right, we're gonna do a teaspoon of sugar. Now we're gonna be making a sweet pie here. However, if you're making something like a quiche and you don't want it sweet, just omit the sugar. So 1 teaspoon. And then we're gonna take half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now we're gonna mix that together. Once your butter has been in the freezer for 15 minutes, we are actually going to grate it in with a cheese grater. So a lot of recipes have you cut it up into cubes. I find it a lot more easy to incorporate it into our flour quicker if I grate it in there. So like I said, we want our butter really cold, and if we're working with this dough a lot, it's gonna warm up and some of it may melt, which is not what we want. When we put it in the oven, the butter is gonna melt, and that's how we get all that flakiness in our crust. But if it melts in the bowl, then our crust isn't gonna be as flaky. So that's why we freeze it, and then we grate it in so it's easier to incorporate and it doesn't melt. So now since it's grated, we can just easily mix it into the flour. You can use a pastry cutter if you want here as well, but because it's grated, we don't really have to. So you want kind of like pea-sized crumbs here, but if there's some larger chunks like that, that's totally fine. All right, we got 1/4 cup of ice water. We're gonna pour in about a tablespoon at a time until our dough is ready. You don't wanna add in more water than you have to. Just add in about a tablespoon and we'll give this a little mix. Everyone's ingredients, like flour, is completely different depending on where in the country you are or where in the world. So hold back some of the water. You may have to add in a little bit more water than me or a little bit less. It's kind of up to your ingredients. So make sure that you're doing this by feel instead of by the exact measurements I'm using. So as you can see, I added in all my water. It still looks very dry, but when you pick it up like this, it holds together. So that's what we want. We don't want a ton of water. It's not gonna be like a bread dough, but we'll dump it out onto our surface. We're gonna squeeze it together so it becomes into a ball. So see, mine's still kind of looking a little dry. I'm actually gonna add in about a tablespoon more of our ice water. So as you can see, it's a little sticky, but it definitely still looks pretty dry. It's not a complete like dough ball like you think with bread, but it still is a little sticky to touch. Now we're gonna wrap this up with saran wrap and let it rest in our fridge for 2 hours. Since we've been working with it a little bit, we want that butter to harden up again. Our dough has been chilling for 2 hours now. So at this point, you can roll it out and use it in your recipe, or you can go ahead and continue to chill it for up to 5 days, or put it in the freezer for 3 months. This recipe makes enough dough for 1 9-inch pie crust. If you're making a double layer pie, then go ahead and double the recipe so you have the top and the bottom crust. So at this point, we need to roll out our dough. It's really up to what you're making to determine how you're gonna roll this out. So, like I was saying, you can make a sweet pie, like a cherry pie, or my strawberry rhubarb pie, or you can make something more savory, like a quiche, or a chicken pot pie, or you can make even like hand pies, Pop-Tarts, even cookies. Today, I am going to be making mini blueberry galettes. I'll bake those up so you guys can really see the texture of the pie crust when it's baked. All right, so we rolled out our dough and filled them. So once you have your ball of dough, all you have to do is follow the recipe of whatever you're making. So let's get these in the oven so you can see how they bake up. Our galettes are done, and this crust is so flaky, it's crazy. Let's go ahead and bite into this. Just look at those flakes going everywhere. This is one of the flakiest pie crusts you'll ever eat. Oh my gosh. Look at that flakiness. All right, let's have a bite of this. The crust is so buttery, it just melts in your mouth and super flaky. Pie crust can seem so intimidating, but as you guys saw, super easy to throw together, and whatever you put in this pie crust, it's gonna be fantastic. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make flaky pie crust from scratch. The full recipe can be found on my food blog at lagameats.com. I've got new delicious dishes coming out every week, so hit a like and subscribe below. I'll see you guys next time. Hey dough!